Please welcome the moderator for session 2, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Small Business Corporation, Philippines, Mr. Robert C. Bastillo. Session number 2, Water, Energy, and Communal Infrastructure.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Robert Bastillo, the President and CEO of the Small Business Corporation of the Philippines. Our company is a government corporation that assists micro, small, and medium businesses to expand and contribute more to local economic development. And in the context of our forum today, we appreciate our role as enabling also small businesses to participate more dynamically in the supply and value chains created by infrastructure development. And without much further ado, I'd like to call in our distinguished speakers, Mr. Denis Ilin, the Vice Chairman of the Eurasian Development Bank, the Management Board, Mr. Ronnie Abdul Wahab, the CEO of Bank Pembangunan Malaysia Berhad. Okay, we have Mr. Pradana Murthy, the Director for Risk Management of the PT Sana Multi-Infrastructure of Malaysia, of Indonesia, and we have Alexander Hilario Aguilar of the Pag-ibig Fund in the Philippines, and lastly, Mr. Sayad Hussein of the Fiji Development Bank, the General Manager for Finance and Administration. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can we give them a warm round of applause? Okay, session 2 is all about water, energy, and urban or communal infrastructure. And in particular, we will explore opportunities for joint financing of hydrotechnical projects, public water supply, urban and irrigation infrastructure. Our distinguished speakers will share the best practices and experiences of their development finance institutions in accelerating the development of this infrastructure, particularly in joint syndication of financing, public-private partnerships, and other modalities of investment financing. By the way, I'd like to remind our speakers that we have 10 minutes or less to deliver our stories, and we won't have an individual question and answer after your time. We will have a joint question and answer portion. But before we begin, I'd like to thank the Eurasian Development Bank and the City of Almaty for the warm reception of all the delegates, and we look forward to exploring more of the beautiful, green, clean, and orderly city of Almaty in the next 2 days. So without much further ado, I'd like to call in Mr. Denis Ilin of the Eurasian Development Bank to share with us stories about and approaches of developing infrastructure that's cross-border or coordinated across the Central Asian region.
Okay, thank you very much. And, yeah. Yeah, it's probably easier and faster if I speak from my seat. Yeah, I've got a few slides to share with you, but before that, I'd like sincerely to thank you for this opportunity to speak up, and I hope you will find a lot of interesting ideas. You'll meet a lot of interesting people, and you'll see a lot of interesting projects during your stay in Almaty and in Kazakhstan. And we're really proud of this place, and we really hope that you will enjoy it with all your heart. Moving on to our subject today, the Eurasian Development Bank is strategically involved in water issues in the region, because water has always been a crucial point for life, actually just for day-to-day life in the region, and with that it can be and it has to be obviously our priority. However, the region is already very strict with water use. Some regions experience serious deficit of water, but with years to come, I think the pressure will be even higher. With growing population, with a growing water use, and especially with serious commitments by the local governments to reduce emissions and to reduce pollution, the water deficit of water will be probably growing unless some actual real measures taken. And if you look at the region on the map, normally two countries who are Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, they sit in the upper stream of main rivers in the region, and they have normally seasonal deficit of the river, while countries in the downstream like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, they suffer from a deficit of water, and normally they need a lot of that for irrigation and for agriculture. At the same time, the potential of energy generation of water and efficient use of water resources, it's phenomenal. Even actually, if you properly operate energy exchange between the countries, it can get increased by 5 times. But water use efficiency in kind of most conservative scenario can be easily increased twice. But interestingly, we made the calculations of required investments in the region, and in a very conservative scenario, instead of doing several projects independently in every region, and if you do it more collaboratively and more balanced, we can save at least 11 billion of investments just to achieve the same result. And that's definitely a point to consider, because this region is not the richest one, and this kind of investment is quite significant for it. Our approach is very practical. In our strategy, our bank has allocated minimum 400 million of potential investment in the coming 3 to 5 years, specifically in water and energy complex development. Our research team, our analytical center, is very deeply involved in the macro analysis on economics, and I just would like to use this opportunity to welcome you both to use our analytical materials. You can get them in the lobby, especially one on water research in a region, which is very deep analysis of current use, of potential demand, and of the ways how we can solve it together. But as a bank, as a development bank, we definitely invest money. We put cash into this region for these specific subjects. And so far, we already financed just over $4 billion US in terms of technical assistance projects to provide pre-project work and to develop project documentation, and also with a focus on balanced and integrated cross-border requirements. Currently, we have in our pipeline a number of projects which come up to 50 billion US, which can be implemented in the area of water and energy use in your region, and that definitely can be and should be prioritized, but it's definitely a great project pipeline for any development institution interested in this region. Currently, we'll look at a massive hydropower project in Kyrgyzstan named Kambarata 1 with required investment up to 3 billion US. And at the same time, we work on relatively smaller projects in Kazakhstan, in Kyrgyzia, and related to direct water supply, like pipe extension of a water line between Russia and Astrakhan and Mangishlak for 260 million US, and transition from coal power to gas-fired power at Almaty with investments of nearly 750 million US. And this is actually our current projects which we do in the region. In terms of areas of cooperation, it can be anything. So for us, some people in the lobby and some journalists asked me how you see our development banks, our competition for you. Definitely not. And I think it's a very stupid approach when we consider development bank competing for, say, projects. Basically, with you saw this on the panel this morning. Everybody talks about the same challenges. Everybody is trying to solve the same problems. And in order to do that, we need to merge our resources and coordinate our activities in the region to achieve the best and most efficient result in the shortest possible period of time. And whatever forms of cooperation we together choose for that, it's irrelevant. Basically, whatever works for specific regulations for a specific country to achieve the common goals. But namely, it can be co-financing, it can be partnership of cooperation for membership, it can be a joint participation in technical assistance program, anything, all the standard instruments and tools of development institution. As Eurasian Development Bank, we're really proud to host this event and to welcome you here. Probably to give you a little bit of history, the bank has been around for 17 years. It focuses its operations in the countries of members, namely Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Armenia, Russia and Belarus. And so far we've made and financed more than 250 to 57, to be precise, national development projects in our geography. We've accumulated investment portfolio so far more than 13 billion US. At the same time, we target, in the coming 5 years, we target to finance additional nearly 9 billion US in the region, and we definitely welcome any partnership and any partners to join us in achieving this target and for the benefits of the region and people living here. With that, I'd like again to thank you for your attention and thank you for coming to Almaty, to Kazakhstan, and I'm really glad to see you all here. I really hope that you will enjoy your stay here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ilin. Thank you for sharing with us that there's so much synergy and greater efficiencies that can be achieved through region-wide research, joint research and planning and project implementation. Thank you. Now I'd like to listen to Mr. Ronnie Abdul Wahab, the CEO of Bank Pembangunan Malaysia Berhad, who will share with us their experiences on financing water supply, energy and communal infrastructure in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, friends, Salim. Thank you, Afiab and EDB for this opportunity to share Bank Pembangunan's experience in Malaysia, as well as to thank you for allowing me particularly to learn more from everyone here. I know, my name is Ronnie. I know it's that time in the afternoon. I'll keep it short. First of all, let me start by introducing Bank Pembangunan. In English, it's Malaysia Development Bank. We are wholly owned by the government of Malaysia. We are an impact lender. One second, forgot to do. And our purpose is to deliver impact capital for national development. So we have 50 years of history of infrastructure financing across Malaysia in ports, roads, airports, power plants, digital connectivity, telecommunication networks, satellites, and many other infrastructure projects. Maybe I'll highlight one or two in particular around water. Malaysia has water supply challenges as well as flood mitigation problems, as well as our drive towards renewable energy. One particular, in the recent years, we've funded a project called Smart Tunnel, a dual-purpose tunnel. One purpose is for flood mitigation during the wet season in Malaysia, and the other purpose is a 4-lane expressway in the tunnel during the dry season. Our strategy is shaped by national objectives. There are two particular areas to highlight here among many others. One is around water sector transformation, which we need to deliver water supply to the rural areas as well as sewerage service coverage. as well as reducing non-revenue water. The other aspect that we are focused on is a national energy policy where we aspire to transform 11,000 megawatts into green energy by 2040. We are a go-to partner with the government. We essentially have a desk with our private partnership agency in Malaysia, where we assist them with structuring, financing structuring capabilities, as well as prioritizing projects. I would like to share with you what next for us. Really, the traditional infrastructure financing projects are business as usual for us. But as we move forward as a bank, what are the areas of frontier that the bank needs to focus on? Essentially around impact. So we created this framework about 2.5 years ago. It's called MIND, Measuring Impact for National Development. Essentially, this is the first filter before credit, where there is an assessment framework that consists of quantitative and qualitative measures around Development Impact Index and Financial Economic Index. We take into account 6 of the 17 UN SDGs into this assessment, alongside with national development priorities. And the outcome is a score. The minimum score we require is 42, so anything below 42, we walk away. So it's a way for us to prioritize our capital where it's truly impactful for the nation. Perhaps I would also like to share a few case studies where areas outside of the traditional infrastructure that we've been focusing on recently, they're smaller in nature, unlike the traditional infrastructure projects we did in the past. Not that we're forgetting them, we still continue doing them. So one case study is, it's a rescue operation, essentially rescuing an abandoned housing project and converting that into 500 units of affordable homes. This is, again, this goes through our MIND framework assessment, and it certainly scores high in social inclusion. It addresses SDG 8 for jobs creation, SDG 10 for social inclusivity, and SDG 13 for communal and better management of climate and people. The next case study is around renewable energy. We look into smaller power plants in the renewable space. In this case, 3 mini hydro projects producing about 29 megawatts in the far places in Sabah. So this provides energy to the rural areas in Sabah. The next one is, as we as a nation, as we move towards renewable and green energy, we do not forget about the transition energy that we need to do. So this case study is in transition energy, where we financed about 740 million US dollar of a combined gas turbine power plant to generate around 1,200 megawatts. And finally, this is something that is closer and further away from our traditional work as a DFI. So it's around environmental development. This project focuses on a non-wood paper, so essentially addressing environmental issues here, where the plant that we finance recycles palm oil waste into paper. Certainly, this project fulfills our MIND filter. It hits the 3 of the 17 UN SDGs around creating local jobs, achieving a technological breakthrough, and spring local economy. So just to conclude, We continue to be partners with the government as well as the private sector to support national agenda development and to deliver impact for Malaysia's agenda. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie Abdul Wahab, for sharing with us what a true development financing institution does. Yours is very well anchored on your national development strategy, on sustainable development goals, and you choose projects that have maximum impact, and you're exploring ways, innovative areas where you could also create greater impact, like transitioning to renewable energy and the like. So thank you very much for that inspiring story. Now I'd like to listen to the next speaker, who intimated to me earlier that they will be sponsoring the next annual meeting of ADFIAP. And therefore he said that he has to be inspiring today so that you'll all go next year to Indonesia. And I'd like to call in Mr. Pradana Murthy, the Risk Director for Risk Management of PT Sarana Multi-Infrastructure, Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Robert, for the introduction. And Assalamualaikum, Shalom, good afternoon, everyone. This is the wrong slide, maybe. Well, first I'd like to introduce PT SMI, or Sarana Multi-Infrastructure. Apologies that we don't have English name yet, so bear with us with the pronunciations, but you get used to it when you come to visit Indonesia next year, hopefully. Can I get my slides up, please? Waiting for my slides up, I think I would just like to say that PTSMI was established 14 years ago in 2009 on the back of the need for heavy investment in infrastructure. So that's why our name is Sarana Multi-Infrastructure, means that we have to provide various forms of financings, alternatives to infrastructure. And we are 100% government-owned entity. We are a infrastructure financing company, operates under the Minister of Finance. And we are basically starting from a very, very small company, less than $100 million worth of assets. And right now, 14 years past, we are close to $8 billion company. And that also means that our products and services expanded from this financing only, providing financing to projects. We also expanded to advisory services and project development facility. Our sectors is also expanded from just the economic infrastructure. We've been expanded to also include social infrastructures such as hospitals and traditional markets, and all the communal facilities. I think there's been technical difficulties, but I hope you can bear with me and listening to my voice only. So what we are trying to say at this important event is that we, as a company, committed to the contribution to our national goals to support sustainable development goals through our activities here, from financing, investment, advisory, and project development. We also applied 10 principles of environmental and social safeguards, which is very similar to what's adopted internationally, such as the IFC standards. And we also very much focus on strengthening our sustainable finance capability and focusing to grow our sustainable projects portfolio, which includes renewable energy. At the moment, we have totally financed close to 40 projects in renewable energy. That amounts to 500 million USD worth of our financing commitment. But that's indicates how we actually operate, which we put our own commitment and in the effort that we get the leveraging that the project needs. So the rest of the financing actually comes from multiple sources, like from the project sponsor itself, as well as development finance institutions, philanthropy, as well as bilateral agencies. So we started from, in the renewable energy, we started from mini hydro projects, yeah? And then we expanded to geothermal, solar, wind, biomass, and further we will keep expanding to our other renewable energy projects. Finally. Next, if we zoom in a bit to show some examples on how we actually achieve this leveraging and blended finance approach. I'm taking example of a few projects in mini hydro, which in this case is upgrades of existing dams. We are showing small dams to renewable energy conversions in 3 different locations in Indonesia. That's, if we look at the structure, I think most importantly, of course, there's a land lease agreement with the government who actually owns the dam, and also, as well as the off-taking agreement with PLN, our electricity company. But also, if you look at the financing structure, aside from SMI as a creditor, there's also a grant portion from UK Mentari program, which is a UK-funded program that contributes up to 20% of the capital investment needed. So that grant helps achieve the project viability. Therefore, this project can be executed. Next project I want to show is the water project Essence. Since we are talking a lot on water projects today, I think we have one very complicated water project. Although this is still in Indonesia, but if you know, Indonesia political system is very decentralized. So in this project, basically this is a transmission line projects covering more than 90 kilometers way of water transmission work, and that will connect to last mile connections in 5 different areas. So this involves 1 provincial government and 5 municipal governments. So this is very complicated in a deregulated or decentralized system. So we achieved this through 5 years of project preparations, since feasibility study and structuring, and another 4 years of construction. What is beautiful in this project is that it involves a lot of parties and commitments. Of the 130 million US dollar worth of capital investment, 50 million US dollars comes from central government budget, which in the form of subsidy, capital subsidy, and the rest comes from the local governments and the private sectors. So this is essentially a blended finance approach. And although there's a lot of lessons learned to take from this, but we take pride that this project, as complicated as that, can happen. The next one is we have agreed with our partners like AFD and European Union to provide loans and as well as grants, both in the technical assistance as well as investment grants. This is also in the effort to actually expand more on those types of projects that we've seen of the dam projects and the water project, the regional water project. The last initiative that we've undertaken or received through assignment from government last year that was announced in G20 summit, that we are now acting as Indonesia country platform manager for energy transition mechanism to support energy transition targets of Indonesia within the NDC and NZE commitments. I think the key theme that we want to share here is that the centrality of government positions as well as the use of the local DFIs, in this case us, PTSMI, as the center stage of the energy transition financing activities. So basically the country platform sits in the middle to bridge the needs from the assets as well as the source of financing, which can come from government of Indonesia, commercial sources, as well as philanthropy, multilateral, bilateral, and other impact funds. So this is a very interesting challenge that we are undertaking since last year. But we are not alone, because since then we have signed with 17 partners to form grants facility, financing facility, technical assistance, as well as investment facilities to support our energy transition, which includes renewable energy scaling up, transmission lines development, as well as demand-side developments from the EV industries and so on and so forth. But the key element, the critical element in the Indonesia case is the reduction of the capacity of our coal fleets, which contributes around 62% of our energy mix. So this needs to go down significantly. So we are trying to take the first steps to finance the first 1 or 2 pilot projects this year on this space here. So I think that's all for us, from us, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murthy. You know, Mr. Murthy, growing from a $100 million company to an $8 billion company is very inspiring, if you ask me. And thank you for sharing with us the challenges that you've faced in putting together complex infrastructure projects requiring multiple partnerships and multiple sources of financing. So we'd be excited to see more of your projects when you go to Indonesia next year. Thank you. Next, we'd like to hear from an agency that provides housing, mass housing, and other communal infrastructure in the Philippines. Mr. Aguilar, Mr. Alexander Hilario Aguilar, who is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Pag-ibig Fund in the Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon to everyone. Please do call me Alex. So first, let me thank ADFIAP for the opportunity to share Pag-ibig story with you. And also, I think we need to thank the Eurasian Development Bank for sponsoring this activity. Today, I will be sharing with you what Pag-ibig has done to finance and develop sustainable homes, spur economic growth, and uplift the lives of Filipino workers. The Home Development Mutual Fund, more popularly known as Pag-ibig, is a government financial institution fully funded by workers' contributions. Its inception in the 1980s was the government's way to answer the need for national savings program and an affordable shelter financing for the Filipino worker. The name Pag-ibig Fund is actually a Filipino acronym for Pagtutulungan sa Kinabukasan, Ikaw, Bangko, Industriya at Gobyerno. In English, it means partnership for the future, you, referring to the members, the workers, banks, industry, and the government. Through the help of these various institutions, Pag-ibig Fund has continued to strongly uphold its indivisible mandates of mobilizing the savings of workers by implementing a nationwide membership savings program and promoting home ownership through the extension of affordable housing loans. Under the law, both workers and their employers contribute 2% of the maximum fund salary cap of 5,000 pesos, or roughly around $2. Under our charter, no less than 70% of our investable funds must be allocated to shelter finance. 42 years since our inception, Pag-ibig continues to manifest stability and prudent fiscal management. This allows us to sustain our business of pursuing our mandates and finance homes towards sustainable cities. As of March this year, Pag-ibig Fund has 15.25 million active members with total assets of $15.3 billion. We have also just achieved our best performing year in 2022 when we released $2.13 billion in housing loans, allowing 105,200 of our members to have homes of their own. Both are record highs. Since 1980, Pag-ibig Fund has released a total of $18.8 billion for housing loans alone. We also extend short-term cash loans totaling to $971 million, providing immediate assistance to around 2.6 million workers who are needing or seeking financial relief. Every year, more than 2 million Filipino workers are aided by Pag-ibig Fund through these loans. Also in 2022, our members collectively saved a record high of $1.44 billion. It was also last year when we posted a record high net income of $804 million. With their strong savings collections and strong demand for home loans, Pag-ibig Fund continues to fulfill its role as a development financing institution. Based on the report of the Philippine Congressional Policy and Budget Research of our House of Representatives, for every 1 peso spent on housing construction, 3.44 pesos output is added to the economy. Because the housing industry spurs economic activities, several related industries benefit from its ripple effect. Millions of jobs and livelihood are created as over 80 industries relating to utilities, household materials, supplies, and furnishings all benefit from the construction of housing units. For every 1 billion pesos or $18 million spending in mass housing and another $18 million in real estate services, it generates around 2,305 jobs. We recognize that Pag-ibig is a major player in the Philippine housing industry. Pag-ibig is the Philippines' single largest independent source of shelter financing in the country, covering more than a third of the Philippine housing mortgage industry. Through our efforts, we ensure that we provide access to affordable home financing by keeping interest rates low and providing longer periods of amortization. As we continue to uphold our mandate of providing accessible homes to Filipino workers, Pag-ibig Fund this year committed $4.52 billion for shelter financing for the next 6 years under the Philippine government's housing program. This is equivalent to $758 million annually, which shall be used to finance the creation of quality and affordable homes across the country. The program aims to build sustainable, decent, livable homes with access to facilities like water, electricity, and are located near schools, markets, and transport hubs. This program shall ensure partnerships with the country's property developers, contractors, local government units, and other entities to help address the country's backlog. And with the topic of sustainable homes at hand, we at the Pag-ibig Fund continue to affirm our commitment and support towards achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Among our initiatives is to pursue the Countryside Housing Initiative, or CHI. Under this initiative, we have delivered quality and green homes in unserved and underserved areas. What you see on the screen now is two of our flagship programs which we built under this program. First is the Dole Gawad housing program for employees of Dole Philippines. This project features 144 quality housing units with a lot area of 70 square meters worth $8,131. These were sold at 34% below its market value with a low monthly amortization of $34 under a 30-year loan term. Aside from the housing project, the company also initiated a livelihood program for their employees. The livelihood initiative was to grow and sell seedlings for added income. Plus, Dole Philippines also provide a financial assistance of $361 to be directly remitted to Pag-ibig Fund and credited to their housing loan balance as a performance incentive. We also promote the use of environmentally friendly materials and provide incentives for such. As an example is the Anibong Resettlement Project in Tacloban. The project was constructed for Filipinos who were devastated by Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. In building the homes, the project proponents used limestone bricks which are durable, more lasting, and affordable. And with the Philippines being a tropical country, we also encourage the acquisition and installation of solar panels for homes of our borrowers. Through our various housing loan programs, a qualified Pag-ibig Fund member can be provided funding allocation for acquisition or installation of solar panels. With this, I'm happy to report that we have already recorded more than 1,500 borrowers who availed of the solar power project. In addition to this, Pag-ibig also offers several appraisal incentives to properties with green or sustainable features. This means we provide housing developers premium points on the appraised value of their housing units based on its sustainable features. We provide up to 20% premium on the appraised value of our housing units based on, one, technologies to reduce energy consumption, methods to reduce water consumption, efficient waste management, and site sustainability. Also, as part of our efforts to promote financial inclusivity and access to our loans, we launched the Lingkod Pag-ibig on Wheels in 2020. This is our mobile branch which delivers service to our members who are in the underserved and unserved areas. As of first quarter this year, our mobile branch has been deployed in 518 areas in the Philippines and servicing over 100,000 members. And we are grateful for ADFIA for taking recognition of the Lingkod Pag-ibig on Wheels. We also launched our official mobile app, the Virtual Pag-ibig. The app is available for download via the App Store and Google Play. Through this application, our members are able to transact online, anytime and anywhere. As development financial institutions, we carry our oath to extend all resources available towards promoting sustainable and inclusive growth. For Pag-ibig Fund, our promise to sustainability translates to three things. First, to make sure that loan programs we will cater are affordable to the Filipino worker. Second is to ensure that we advocate environmentally sustainable incentives for those who use and adopt green technologies in homes. And lastly, to always pursue prudence in managing and mobilizing the savings entrusted to us, so that a greater number of Filipino workers, their families, can continue saving for their future while fulfilling their dreams of home ownership. On behalf of Pag-ibig Fund, thank you everyone for giving us this opportunity to showcase our best cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar, for beating the clock.
Yeah.
Just a little trivia. Pag-ibig in the Philippines actually means love.
Yeah.
And I think it's evocative of the way that the institution has aggressively provided housing financing facilities to its clients. But not only that, I think it's also evocative of the care by which they manage their funds, growing now up to $15 billion in assets. So congratulations. So thank you. And we now move to our last speaker for this session, Mr. Sayed Hussein of the Fiji Development Bank, who will share with us their experiences in supporting infrastructure development in the Oceania region. Mr. Hussein.
And good afternoon to you all. Thank you for inviting us to be part of this panel. I will talk on the water, energy, and communal infrastructure. Getting the slide. So what will I do? I'll talk in terms of the perspective from what Fiji Allen is doing, and in terms of the challenges that we have, and then I will also mention in terms of what is the role of Fiji Development Bank in terms of contributing towards the. So while they're getting the presentation on, just briefly I want to state in terms of Fiji, where Fiji is. Some of us I think don't know where is Fiji. Fiji is a very small island nation in the Pacific. Its population is less than 1,900,000, and the economy is primarily driven by tourism and agriculture. So if you know, it's 4.5 hours flight from Sydney, Australia, and more closer to New Zealand, 2.5 hours from New Zealand. But if you talk about Singapore, it's 11 hours direct flight to Fiji. So in terms of the climate change, Fiji is very vulnerable to climate change. When you look at the tropical nature, we have sustained as sea level rise and stronger storms. We currently get very strong storms in Fiji every second or third year, which basically sometimes destroys part of the Fiji. Well, I'll talk in terms of the challenges that we have currently for water. I think most of the rural villages or rural areas currently do not have basic water supply. So they actually depend on wells and river water to depend on their basic needs or day-to-day supply for the home. So it has become probably one of the biggest challenges for the government of Fiji, where they have been partnering with and collaborating with other development partners to assist the rural community. In terms of energy, we basically and very heavily depend on fossil fuel for our engineering needs, which accounts for significant portion of our country's imports, and it also contributes to the carbon footprint. So many rural areas or many rural communities still lack access to reliable electricity. Communal infrastructure, I think this is, one of the major aspects of all countries, the roads, bridges, and public transportation. It is vital for social and economic development. However, due to the remote location and limited resources, faces major challenges in terms of maintaining and improving the structure. So I think in terms of the joint financing experience, what Fiji has gone through in terms of providing a rural electrification program, when we look at the Fiji government itself has spent close to 234 million Fijian dollars over the last 8 years to provide electricity to our rural communities, especially the villages and other part of the rural communities. So when you look at when you compare from 2018, 86%, it has been increased by 10% in 2019. We also have other donors, other development partners who have been providing assistance. Like some of the donors have provided seed funding for electricity to some of the villages, and particularly European Union is also a bigger funding partner for the country. Has provided a 30 kilowatt solar hybrid project in one of the villages. So in terms of Fiji Development Bank is the only development bank in the country. It's 55 years and now formed by the Parliament as a development arm of the Fiji government. So our mandate is basically to provide development projects for the development of the Fijian economy and how we can enhance the quality of life of the Fijians. FDB is the only development bank in the Pacific which has been recently accredited to Green Climate Fund. This is the world's largest climate fund provider. Is a direct national access entity. So what we have done in terms of basically moving on projects, we have taken some projects to provide funding in terms of mitigation and assisting in the climate change. So I'll basically discuss three of basically new projects. It's not a big projects like the smaller project that we at least FDB has taken, Development Bank has taken in terms of assistance and contribution to the community. So we have moved on to now that is the leading financial institution in terms of providing electric vehicle charging stations. So this is something a new concept for Fiji. Now that we have moved on to electric vehicle and FDB has come up as providing electric charging stations to most of the urban centers. So now this is, has become one of the areas where the government has provided some sort of assistance. So people of the community want to getting electric vehicle. The second one is the photovoltaic project. This is a project that is undertaken in collaboration in terms of Green Climate Fund. It's a solar power that is provided to one of the small islands in the country, which provides 4 megawatts solar power. So we have panels, solar panels on top, and then we have agriculture farming that is done on the ground. So that's why it's called agro-photovoltaic project. So this is something that FDB has taken in terms of is one of the first projects with the Green Climate Fund, and we at the moment in terms of implementation stage. Moving forward, I think there's another one that we are currently working on in terms of climate smart agriculture project. This is at the concept note. This has also been worked with the Green Climate Fund. This is some of US $9.75 million over 15 years that will be provided to our communities. So in conclusion, I think what we can say is that there are a lot of opportunities in terms of joint financing and working in collaboration with our developing partners who have assisted Fiji for the years. And I think now that there's a lot of focus, especially in the Pacific, where the very small islands, nation, and very vulnerable to climate change. So we have partners like Green Climate Fund, European Union, and Asian Development Bank. World Bank has come up to assist Fiji. So that's all I have in terms of my presentation. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein, for your comprehensive stories about how you try to create lasting impact in communities in Fiji over the years and for addressing critical concerns like climate change, Fiji being susceptible, vulnerable to climate change. Okay, thank you everyone for staying within the time limit. Now we have a few minutes left for the question and answer forum, so I'll kick off with just two questions. So I'll just fire off the question and we'll ask each one of you to say a few words within a minute. Sorry, we don't have much time. So the first question is, what else aside from what you have done, inspiring as they have been, what else do your institutions require? Or what more do you need to do in order to accelerate infrastructure development, particularly in the areas of energy transition, sustainable water supply, sanitation and hygiene, and urban infrastructure. So in other words, what else do you need? Maybe in the field of policy or greater cooperation or what have you. Can we start with Mr. Denis Ilin, and then we just move to the right?
Sure, yeah, thank you. Basically, 2 points I'd like to say. First of all, in terms of cooperation between development institutions, on Wednesday, most of our guests will have a chance to go see our project here in Almaty, which is Almaty Ring Road, and that's actually syndicated with Islamic Development Bank and EBRD. And that's, I think, a great example of cooperation of development institutions in transport infrastructure. And we'd like to see more of that in water and renewable energy generation industry. And we think that's definitely a right way for us to go together to target those projects. The other subject is, I think, was briefly touched upon during opening session this morning, if I'm not mistaken, by Ms. Suzanne from ADB, Asian Development Bank, from Suzanne Gabari. And she said that we should be doing not just new infrastructure, but we should be looking at increasing efficiency of existing infrastructure. And talking specifically about water, water use in this area is so bad. Actually, this region is very big in agriculture, and water irrigation is a big subject, with up to 60% of water being wasted on its way. 60, even sometimes even more. So basically, by investing into this infrastructure, by making it more efficient, just imagine how much water you can save for our use, rather than just build new power stations and generate more energy for consumption. So that's probably what we should be looking, not just at new generation and with either renewable energy or classical sources of energy, but also increasing efficiency of existing facilities. For Kazakhstan, it's probably even more important. Northern Kazakhstan depends a lot on coal. And that's actually, except for solar probably, it's the only way to provide energy to the local population. What should we do? We should stop using coal, or probably we should put some attention in improving these facilities to make it less polluting, but because that's the only source of heat and energy for the local population. And again, so it's always two sides of that. We can generate more, we can build more, and also we should be looking at the existing facilities for it to be more efficient.
Thank you, Mr. Ilin. Mr. Ronnie, what else do you need more of, or what else do you require?
Yeah, Robert, the question, accelerating infrastructure projects. The flip side of the question is, how do you make government agencies move faster?
Yes.
Well, on a more serious note, I think for us it's 2 parts. One part is prioritizing capital, and how do we achieve that? It's by being more proactive in policy-making involvement. So for us, it's upskilling our research and policy unit and how knowledge sharing can benefit the various related government agencies. Number 2 is around execution risk management. Essentially, building these infrastructure facilities require very capable infrastructure partners. So, from a credit standpoint, we are able to mitigate or at least foresee the construction risk during the construction period. So, building partnerships with not just local but multinational infrastructure partners.
Thank you very much. So far we've had greater coordination, greater efficiencies, better policy making, and better capacities in implementation. So we'd like to hear from Pag-ibig Fund. What else can we add to the formula?
Where Pag-ibig Fund is in the housing sector, so land is really important. We can bring down the cost of housing units if the lands are accessible and is bought at a cheaper price. The Philippine government and its many agencies, we have an inventory of idle lands. If these idle lands will be proclaimed for socialized housing, this would do a lot in terms of bringing down the cost, as well as I mentioned in my presentation about the 4PH program, where the underlying objective is to really build homes for the informal settlers. According to our housing department, we have around 3.5 million informal settlers in the country. If we are able to make land available for housing projects, from idle government lands as well as privately held lands, this would mean a lot in terms of keeping the costs low and better urban planning. So that's what we need right now. Because we feel that we have already built the partnership between the financing institutions, including government financial institutions as well as the private banks. And the developers, the construction companies are also into the picture. We need to build those partnerships, and with the input of cheap and accessible land, I think that would make this problem of homelessness a little better for everyone in the Philippines.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Keeping costs low and using idle government resources to achieve this. Mr. Murthy?
I think what we can share from our experience is that so we need to be collaborative through various means like blended financing, to team up and partner with people with the same interests. So I think we need to reach out more. PTSMI obviously need to reach out more to other source of funds that are interested in investing in SDG in the region. For example, I just knew from Mr. Hussein that Leonardo DiCaprio got a foundation who is investing in SDGs. So we don't know actually much about what are the universe of institutions or people who are investing in this SDGs. So we need to learn more, and being in ADVIAP, especially increase our knowledge to actually learn from other institutions as well. And looking inside is also equally important to be able to continuously transform our institutions to actually adapt to the challenges that we are facing. I think that's probably my take. Thank you.
Thank you. Reaching out to more partners and a greater collaboration among them. That's why you're hosting next year's meeting. And lastly, Mr. Hussein.
Inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah. Mr. Hussein?
Yeah, I think for us in Fiji, in terms of limited resources and what we have seen that in terms of providing the infrastructure, the whole reliance is on the government. So times are there that the government doesn't have the resources to providing the infrastructure has been delayed. So I think that's what happens, that the resources and the benefit is not passed to the public. So what should be that I think we should have more public and private partnership. That more private organizations should also join hands with the government, providing the infrastructure, and other banks should also join in terms of assisting in providing funding. Otherwise, what will happen that we solely rely on the government to provide.
Thank you for echoing the need for greater partnerships. Okay, my next question is, we just need a few keywords perhaps. If you were to choose among your innovative approaches and initiatives, what would be those or one best practice that you think could be adopted by other development financing institutions in your region? So can you start with Mr. Hussein?
Thank you. I think now, as I said, Fiji is very vulnerable to climate change. And now that we have a lot of development partners providing funding to Fiji, so I think it is best for us in terms of that we should move on to the more of smart agriculture financing. So when you look at most of the Pacific Island countries are more of agriculture dependency. So those agriculture forms a backbone of the economy, and we need to move on to doing climate, smart climate financing project to at least mitigate the climate effect.
Okay, thank you. Can we go to Mr. Murthy?
I would like to highlight the importance of, well, everyone knows energy transition is important. It's a global efforts to fight climate change, of course. But I think I need to highlight the importance of country ownership and clarity. So we need to institutionalize the framework of energy transition financing through a mechanism that is initiated by the host country itself. So I think the example that we are doing with the country platform initiatives, I think we want to show that the centrality of government ownership as well as the use of local DFIs is actually something that we hope it can actually successfully progress the energy transition financing.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy. Mr. Aguilar?
In terms of housing, I think government agencies need to work more together in terms of planning, in terms of harnessing expertise, in terms of addressing needs, most especially needs matching. We have had a good experience in bringing the employers, the workers, and the government agencies together so that they can address this perennial problem of housing. We have just started, but I hope that this experience would be developed further.
Thank you. Mr. Abdul Wahab?
I'd like to echo what a colleague from Indonesia, Mr. Pradana, said earlier. It's around DFIs, institutions that are way in the frontier. We need to be agile, we need to be adaptable. For us, it's about talent and nurturing talent. It's very important. We are a learning organization, learn from everyone here. But also equally important is to anchor on a purpose. At least for us, it's really about delivering impact capital.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Ilin?
Yeah, thank you. Just probably a quick one. I think it was mentioned earlier today about knowledge transfer, and I think Alex just mentioned about expertise and local expertise. What we definitely need to share with each other is what we know about our home regions. Actually, how we solve our problems because our challenges, as we're saying. So I think that we believe that we know our home very well, and we'd like to share. We're open to share this knowledge. Both in terms of project finance or both in terms of macroeconomic trends. And again, you can definitely take a look at our researches outside in the lobby. But definitely, the purpose of meetings like this and discussions like this is for people to learn more and then probably to come to experts for solutions and to use this expertise and knowledge together.
Thank you. Thank you. We have time for one question from the audience. Is there anybody who'd like to ask a question? An all-encompassing wise question? Anybody? I think they've been well informed. Okay, so thank you very much. This has been a very productive session too, and the keywords that remained as we leave these are greater collaboration, greater partnerships, greater efficiencies, lowering of costs, being true to your anchor development goals and development strategy, being agile, and the ability to share, the willingness to share your best practices and knowledge so that everyone can also upgrade their competencies and capacities. So with that, we'd like to thank our distinguished panel of speakers, and we'd like to say thank you for listening to this session.
A round of applause, dear ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, our distinguished guests and speakers.